Chapter 3, From Gathering to Growing Food. But before we start, let me ask you a question. How many cuisines did we eat today? We have so many varieties with us. We can have Indian. In Indian itself, we have several varieties: Rajasthani, West Bengali, South Indian, Awadhi, Hyderabadi, or something. If we want outside India, then we can have Italian, we can have Chinese, we can have Mexican, and all those stuffs. But was this thing also available to the early man? And if it was not, then what were the varieties of food that he used to eat? We know that different varieties of food require different climatic conditions. For example, what rice require is not required by wheat and barley. They both require different kind of water, and that explains the reason why rice is grown in some areas and wheat and barley or any other kind of variety like millets or jowar or ragi, they grow in different climatic conditions. And the same goes for the animals. Sheep or goats can survive on mountainous areas or hilly areas, but the cattle cannot. It is very difficult for a cattle to survive in such areas. Hence, the variety of food eaten by the early man was dependent on where he was living, whether he was on a mountainous track or whether he was living nearby plains or somewhere else, as he was a hunter gatherer and had to search for food wherever he finds it. But as the time was changing and the Paleolithic era was moving out and the Mesolithic was rising, the beginning of farming and herding also started. We all know that the climate was getting warm when the Mesolithic age was coming. It was getting warmer and warmer as the cold climate was getting diminished. And this led to increased growth of plants and animals, and as well as it led to the flourishment of the early man itself. The early man must have observed how the plants grow and how the seeds come off the stalks and they grow further, and it leads to another plant. And this must have led him to take care of such kind of plants. And this led further to go from a hunter gatherer's life to a settled life now. And hence they came in the category of farmers. That is, they were protecting their plants now, they were protecting them from the birds, they were protecting them from the animals, and it led to a settled life for the early man, which comes into the Mesolithic period, which was the starting of the Mesolithic period, that we have found such kind of traces. And apart from plants, it also led to taming of animals. He also started taming the animals what he desired they were safe for them. Pig, sheep, goat, cattle, horses, and such kind of animals which were really gentle to the early man. They started attracting those animals by giving them food nearby their houses. Often these people used to protect these animals, the domesticated, the pet animals, from the other wild animals, and hence they became the herders. And this led to a further settled life, as they cannot move anywhere else, as they were growing plants, as they were going for the pet animals. It was very difficult for them to now live a life of a hunter gatherer again, and hence it started with a settled life. Now let's improve your vocabulary a little. After having a settled life, the early men also started for domestication, where the domestication is a process in which the people grow plants and look after animals. That is, they start caring for the animals, they start caring for the plants. Very often, the plants and the animals that are tended by the people become different from wild plants and the animals. This is because people select plants and animals for domestication. It simply means that whatever plant or the animal that they have chosen to rear, they become different from the original variety of the plant, that is the mother plant. And that happens because they usually select the plant or the animal for special purposes. For example, they select those animals which are relatively gentle in behavior, and similarly they select those plants which are not prone to diseases, which are really large in the grain size, which they have high yielding variety of the seed. The stalks are very strong in the nature and also are capable of bearing weight of the right grain. These are the reasons which tend to make the original plant get changed to a new plant of the domestic variety. That means the original will be called as the wild variety, and the new one which has been domesticated will be called as the domestic or the pet variety. Now, by domestication, as we got to know that the early man started domestication of plants and animals, let us know what were the first animals to be domesticated. And the archaeologists suggest that the sheep and goat are the earliest to be domesticated. We have got the evidences. And similarly, in case of plants, it was wheat and barley which are suggested to be the first plants that were domesticated. Though the first animal to be domesticated, particularly, is suggested to be a wild ancestor of the dog. That's considered to be the first animal being tamed, but as far as on a pluralistic basis, sheep and goat are considered to be the earliest animals domesticated. Though after that, pig, sheep, goat, cattle, all these got included. Well, here we have an example of a pig teeth, in which this is a wild variety of teeth where we can easily look that it is large in size. The variety is quite bigger than the regular domesticated teeth, where this is the domesticated teeth. That certainly the behavior of the original thing got changed from this to this. This is what happened when we select the domesticated variety. They tend to change, they become different. Now let's see what happened when the domestication came in the life of the early human. They started living a new way of life, and that happened because of lots of reason. And the majority of that was, as he started growing plant, hence he cannot go anywhere else, as he has to water them, as he has to take care of the weed, he has to look for the safety of the plants. So certainly, as plants do not grow in just a day, they takes weeks, they takes months, and even they takes year. For this particular reason, they had to stay back to that particular area and hence have to care for them, and which led to a settled life of the early human. This was the beginning of the settlement of the life. Now let's see when the grain used to grow, what the early man used to do. It is considered that whatever seeds that they were getting, what they could have done is they could have saved those seeds so that they can grow it once again. They could use the seeds as food. They also might have used those particular seeds, the grain, as gifts. They could have gifted it to their family members, they could have gifted it to the other people of the tribe, and also they could have stored the seed for some futuristic thing, that they can store these things for the non-seasonal activity or the non-seasonal time when the seed was required. And it is also being found that nearby the sites such kind of pots were also found where burnt seeds are also being found. So it is suggested that the seeds may have got burned, or it was purposefully was burned by the early human. Well, this was about the plant. Now let's see how the animals used to get stored. Well, as far as animals are concerned, they need not get stored in a normal way that how the plants get stored. They simply require care and proper nourishment, and they get natural multiplication. And then as the population of the animals grow, they can be easily used for milk or meat production. Now let's see the finding out about the first farmers and the herders. Now this is the map of India and the nearby areas where the early human might have lived in the Neolithic era. We have lots of places in India that we find. Now let's see them first. We have found in the Mehergarh area of the present day Pakistan. Now here is the Mehergarh. This is the Pakistan Afghanistan border as of now, and the nearby area, this is called as Bolan Pass. It's a place where people can move around from this place and they can enter into the Afghanistan area, and it's a way to go to Iran as of now. Now nearby Mehergarh, wheat, barley, sheep, goat and cattle are the regular things that the archaeologists have found. So they do suggest they were of Neolithic age. Similarly, in Koldi Hawa in present day Uttar Pradesh. This is Koldi Hawa. It's below the Yamuna River and nearby this Son Betwa area. Now, this Koldi Hawa area is what the archaeologists suggest are the places where the early men lived in the Neolithic period, where we have found the rice and the fragmentary animal bones. They were broken parts of bones. It is a place found in Uttar Pradesh. Similarly, Mahagarh is a place where we have found rice and cattle. Now Mahagar is just nearby to Col de Hava, again in the same belt of Madhya Pradesh. Here we have also found certain clay things where the hoof marks of kettles are found. Similarly, in the wheat and lentil is something that we have found in the Kashmir area. In Burzahom and Gufkral area of Kashmir, the archaeologists have found wheat and lentil. Similarly, wheat, lentil, dog, kettle, sheep, goat, and buffalo are the things that we have found in Burzahom. It suggests that the people of Kashmir, they were using lentils. It's a particular thing that we haven't found anywhere else. So lentil is a thing that we have found in Kashmir, and this is Burzahom and nearby site Gufkral. So this is what the people of Neolithic sites of these area must be using. Similarly, Shirand in Bihar, which is nearby the UP border, where here we have found wheat, the green gram, barley, buffalo, and ox. It is again a very uncommon thing that we have found here. It is in Shirand. This is the particular place. Here it is also exists in the present day. Similarly, Halur and Payampalli in the southern India, Halur in Andhra Pradesh and Payampalli again in Andhra Pradesh are the places where we have found unique thing millet and black gram, and also cattle, sheep, goat, and pig, which were quite common all over India. And here is the place Halur and Payampalli. It's nearby the southern areas. This is what being suggested by the archaeologists, that they have found these sites where they have found the grain and the bones. Now this suggests that by this time the early man has started using the grain, and they also started the domestication of animals. This is a nice thing that we didn't find in the Paleolithic period. Now let's see how the settled life began and what were the common features that archaeologists have found while searching for the settled life. In the Burzahom area of the Kashmir, the archaeologists have found the home which were in shape of underground pits. That is, this is the ground, and they have made stairs. They move inside the stairs under the ground, and then they make the homes inside under the earth. This is what the shapes of Burzahom the archaeologists have found. So it was a common thing that, and it was a good thing also, because Burzahom is a cold area. It's in present day Kashmir. We can totally understand how cold this area would have been in those days also. So they have created such pits. So in case of bad season, they can go inside, they can go under the pits, and then they can move outside whenever the season is good. And also in those pits they have found the kitchen hearth inside as well as outside of the ground. So it's a seasonal thing that they could have used in those areas. Now let's see the Neolithic and Paleolithic things, how they were different, and especially we are talking about the stone things. In the Neolithic and Paleolithic things, the stones were made in different fashion. For example, in Paleolithic era, the stones were quite rough. They had rough edges. But in case of Neolithic thing, they were really polished. You can see in this photograph, and similarly here we have a stone that you can be used to cut something. Here we have a stone which has sharp edges. In the Paleolithic period, the stones were really rough and they did not have any kind of sharp edges. Here is another example for the same thing. So we can simply say the Neolithic tools were polished in nature. They were very purpose specific, and they had sharp and cutting edges. In those sites we have also found pots. The pots were used to cook food. Now this also suggests that by this time the early man has started making pots. Now the craft was also there. Similarly, we have found in the Neolithic area, there are proofs that we have found the cloth weaving, and especially the cloth was made of cotton and other kind of fiber. And also we have found the mortar and pestle that we even use today. It is probable that they may have used mortar and pestle to crush the grains or other kind of food items so that they can consume it further. Well, we'll be discussing about the customs and practices of the Neolithic era period in the upcoming video. Till then, have a good day ahead. Bye bye. Take care.